Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, we are back. We are the Old and New Money Podcast. We have a special guest for you today, Michael ASHER. He has a fascinating story, ups and downs in lives. He is out there in the West Coast, not the West Coast, the Midwest. I'm already trying to bring you over to the West Coast, Michael. We got this man over here in the Midwest. He is exactly from where, Michael? Let the world know where you're from.
Detroit City.
Detroit City. Quite different from the West Coast. Out there, is it snowing yet or not yet?
Not yet. Not looking forward to that. Temperature starting to fall, but no snow yet. Just
when it starts to snow, it's what? Right after Thanksgiving? First week of December? When?
Usually. It varies. Some years we got snow before Thanksgiving. Some years we don't get snow till after Christmas. It's been mild the past couple of years.
Mild, okay.
Winters haven't been so
rough. You guys get what, 3 months of snow out there, or how many months?
About 3 months. Usually we're good for a snow in April too, but that'll just be a sporadic week. The weather drops down and.
Gotcha. You know, when we talk about the snow for us, it's such a trip, right? Because we don't have any of that stuff. So we're like, snow, whatever the fuck that is. You know what I mean? We see it on TV, but we can't really process as far as living in the snow. One of the things that I think I'm going to do in about 6 years is move to a snowy area. So I might be living your life in about 6 years, 6, maybe 7. My kids got to be 12 first before we move out of the area. But it's so different when you say what?
I said, just make sure you bring a shovel.
Right. Have a bunch of kids, so they are out there shoveling all that stuff, right? More kids, the merrier, right? So tell us more about you. I mean, you got special ups and downs in life. So I know Pedro, my man here, he's usually behind the camera. He's usually a producer. You guys have a lot in common. So talk about what you got going on.
So before my accident, I was working for a trucking company. They haul steel as a mechanic. I went to school down in Nashville, Auto Diesel College in 2010, graduated, moved back up here to Michigan, and I spent about 6 years working on trucks until I ironically had an accident on trucks and wrecked the bike and got into more into cars.
Okay.
And over the last 7 years or so, life's been dedicated to recovery and then stuff with the car and growth with that. I've got a Facebook group that's got 2,300 members dedicated to this car. Every owner in the group, every person in the group owns the same car.
Wow. That's a lot of synergy right there. So go back to your, I want to talk about your club also. That seems amazing. 2,300 people. You're able to collect 2,300 people that you guys are all thinking alike about these type of cars. But let's go back to what I think is a great lesson in how you survive, thrive, and now just enjoying, right? The whole process of you becoming a mechanic and then having that accident, the tragedy, the fight back is where I think a lot of people are going to get a lot of information and motivation from you as far as coming up again. How hard was that? And we'll talk about that process, right? And how was that accident? You said you were on a motorcycle?
Yeah, I come around a curve and the bike started drifting towards the outside of the lane, and I seen a guardrail ahead of me, and I had to make a split-second decision to either avoid the guardrail and bail on the turn or to try to continue on the turn and possibly hit the guardrail. I chose to bail on the turn and avoid the guardrail. And
were you drifting? Was it a rear brake, or why was it drifting?
I think I was just going too fast into the turn.
Yeah.
I was a fairly decent rider. I wasn't to the point of dragging my knee, but I get my knee pretty close to the ground. And I think the biggest mistake was riding hard into a turn that I wasn't familiar with.
Right.
I'd never been on this turn before and, went into it a little hard and tragedy struck.
Sheesh.
So you were pretty low turning into that turn. I'm guessing you're turning left. When that accident happened.
I was turning right.
Oh, turning right. Okay. I guessed wrong. 50-50 shot and I failed.
That's why I'm here.
And so you hit that accident, right? And what happened to you? Talk to us about that.
I woke up in the hospital to find out, I was in an accident because I don't remember anything of the accident. I remember making the decision to bail on the turn, but the accident itself, I don't have any recollection of. My left foot got really tore up. It got turned upside down and basically drug along the concrete for, I don't know, 6 feet or so, and just kind of sandpapered all my skin and my flesh off the top of my foot. I fractured the bottom of my skull. I broke my collarbone, and the collarbone resulted in stretching nerves in my shoulder. So I lost all shoulder function. I had some cracked ribs. My right big toe dislocated, popped out of the skin. So I had that done.
That shoulder of yours, you were saying the doctor was saying that's the worst separation you'd ever seen. It's like the bundle of nerves was just exposed. Shit's crazy.
Yeah, my surgeon that did the collarbone, I got a plate in my collarbone. When he did that, he said that, yeah, he could see my nerve bundle. He's never seen that before. That's how separated the collarbone was.
Fucking gnarly.
Wow. And so, did you count how many injuries that was in total? I just heard too many.
Count how many what?
How many injuries you received on that day? So leg, your shoulder, your collarbones broken. How many ribs broken? What was the total damage on that?
I don't know how many ribs were cracked, to be honest, but there was probably 5 or 6 different injuries.
5 or 6 major injuries, especially on your leg, right? What happened to your leg? Your foot?
I shattered my ankle. So they initially braced my leg all up, fused my ankle together, and it wasn't for, I don't know, 5-6 days or so after the accident when I decided to go forward with amputation.
Mm-hmm.
And so how left foot.
So you made the decision to amputate yourself, right? You decided.
Yeah.
Okay. How'd you come up to that conclusion? That's a pretty extreme decision right there.
Yeah, my dad come in my room one day and told me that. He said, you're not going to want to hear this, but I was talking to your surgeon and I asked him if it was him, what he would do. And his surgeon basically told him that I would have a faster recovery and more use out of a prosthetic than trying to save my foot.
Okay. And so when your dad talks to you about the decision, what's going through your head? Because that's a giant decision for you.
Like he said, it wasn't something I wanted to hear. Yeah. My children at the time were 2 and 3 years old, and I knew that I was looking towards multiple surgeries, multiple recoveries. It was going to be the next couple of years of being in the hospital, out of the hospital. And I wanted to get back to life as fast as I could.
Okay.
And I got a question for you, Mike. Are you grateful that it's your left foot and not your right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Why?
Because of the left foot's the clutch. I was imagining your setup, and yeah, that's lucky.
Yeah, it's easier to push a clutch than it would be to regulate a gas pedal with my right foot. And, being as I'm dominantly right-handed, on my balance, your big toe has a lot to do with your balance that you don't even realize. So my right big toe provides me a lot of balance, and I definitely prefer it to be my left foot than my right foot. Same thing with my arm. I'd rather have my left arm damaged than my right arm.
Yep. So I'd imagine you could figure out a setup for bikes, but you're just not in a rush because of Pops or your dad?
Yeah, I would have to get some type of shifter that I could go down for shifting up.
Yeah.
So you're still trying to ride bikes?
That's the main thing.
So you're still trying to ride bikes?
Not scared. I'm not scared to get on one. I would get on one again.
Okay.
But if I did, I would strictly keep it on track. Yeah. I bought the car because I still had a desire for speed and fun, but I needed to be a little safer for my kids. I think that the best part of my accident was that my children didn't lose their father. And I thought it'd be really selfish of me to go and get another bike and potentially risk not my life, just losing my children, losing their father. That's how I look at it.
I know what you mean. I've totaled 2 bikes. My first one, I totaled the R6 at like 16. I totaled S1000RR 2015. So a year before you, I was in a wheelchair for a year. So I'm
16. You wrecked the R6.
Yeah, used to ride it to fucking high school.
That's what I was riding as an R6. It was a 2010.
2010, I had a 07. I had the red and gold.
Okay, mine is all black.
Fuck yeah. That bike is like a good wine. Like, it's perfect. Fucking.
I love the bike. I put 28,000 miles on the bike, and like 5 years I had it.
That's because you can maintain it. I don't know any mechanic shit, so my bike wouldn't last no 28,000 miles.
How long do bikes usually last?
The street bikes?
Yeah.
How long would you say?
Like you said, maintenance has got a lot to do with it. I've seen one Gixxer that had like 100,000 miles on it.
God damn.
And it really comes down to my bike had 28,000 miles on it, and it ran like a top. I mean, I rode that bike hard. I don't think I ever burned a tank of gas through it that didn't have a bunch of wide open throttle poles. And
fuck yeah.
Well, I was rather surprised how well it ran still with 28,000 miles on it. I'm sure it would have gone another 28,000 miles, no problem. Went through about 3 or 4 sets of tires on it, some spark plugs, some air filter, did some exhaust work on it, power commander,
Question: have you ever taken it to Laguna, or did you ever take it to Laguna Seca?
Never took the bike to the track.
The only reason I asked is I grew up like 15 minutes from the track. Now we're in the Bay Area, but it's like an hour and 15 minutes from us, Laguna Seca.
I definitely like to take the car there.
Hell yeah.
What type of car do you have?
13 Z01 Camaro.
And you have a big old club, 2,300 people?
Yep.
So how'd you go?
Yep,
I know you want to, you got the need for speed, which is, I understand because, let me tell you a story. When I was, I used to be a cop, right? I used to be with the sheriff's department. And I had a couple of partners that had cops. I mean, they had bikes. And I was like, I want to get a bike. But I was a mama's boy, right? Certain way I still kind of am, right? But not the controlled type. I just take care of my moms. And so I told moms, hey, mom, at that time, I was 25. I think I was 25. Maybe 26, 25, 26. And I told mom, I want to get a bike. All my friends are getting bikes and I want to go fast also. Seems like they have a lot of fun. Goes, yeah, but that's not for you. He goes, why? Because you get too excited. And I think, why don't you just buy a Porsche? So I understand it. And I was like, you know what? Shit. I'm gonna probably get more chicks too with the Porsche. Let's rock that. So I understand. I didn't have to go. And then right when I was going back and forth on going to bike or a Porsche, I was like, yeah, I'm going to get a Porsche. My friend crashed his bike and he almost went paralyzed, cracked his back. It was a long recovery. So I was like, oh yeah, definitely getting a Porsche now. But I understand the transition from wanting to go from bike to still get a fast ass car. It's still that need for speed, right? Like certain men, we got it, right? Like right now I'm driving a family car because I got a kid. But I don't want to go back and get me another Porsche because I like going fast. And so talk about that need for speed, brother. Some men don't have it. Some men are like, whatever. But talk about why do we love that need for speed?
When I was younger, I always wanted a motorcycle. My dad would never let me have anything with 2 wheels besides, a pedal bike. He wouldn't let me have a moped, a dirt bike, anything like that because it was going to lead to me buying a motorcycle. Well, yeah. Guess what? I didn't have none of it and I still bought the motorcycle.
No matter what, a man's going to do what a man wants to do.
When I bought the bike, it was either a choice of a bike or it was going to be the same model Camaro that I have, but it wasn't a Z01. It would have been an SS. And financially, I wasn't in the position for the SS. So I went and I picked up the bike. I wanted something fast, something fun.
Yeah.
And that's
the
what you
bike
got.
Was speed.
So were you part of a bike club also when you were riding a bike or not really?
I just rode around with some buddies.
Okay.
The trucking company I was working for, after I got my bike, a few other guys, they got bikes. And so we started riding together. And I had already been riding for a couple of years. They were fairly new to the scene.
And then, so when you got the car, when you went from a motorcycle, obviously, and I think, I think it's a good idea that you don't get a bike. I mean, that's just my advice. I remember this story my dad told me. I was a teenager. And my dad was talking about jumping out of planes and their whole company's going to go and do this, whatever. They want to feel like they're military people jumping out of, what do you call it? Parachuting? Yeah, parachuting. I did it in the military and I forgot about it. I forgot the name of it. So in high school, my dad was an engineer. His engineer friends, all a bunch of dorks wanted to feel like man, right? So they wanted to jump out of a plane. And he gave me this one story. My dad was like, there's this guy. We don't really like him. He's so serious, doesn't have a sense of humor. but he said something very interesting, and I always remembered it. We were all talking about parachuting, jumping out of planes, and all kinds of stuff. And we asked him if he wants to go. And he was like, no, I don't do that stuff. My family depends on me. My kids depend on me. My wife depends on me to make sure I come home every day. So that's why I work. And I don't do anything dumb that's going to jeopardize my health, because my kids are dependent on my health and my safety. So I don't do anything dumb at all. And I was like, oh, man, that's a good insight. You guys don't like that guy, but I like the way he thinks, you know? I mean, I get that part, right? But there's got to be a little perfect balance when a man's happy, yet you got to take care of your kids. So as much as you want to jump on your bicycle, you know, according to that guy's story, the way he thinks, I'd be like, I would stick to the cars.
But Mike was saying he'd ride on the track.
Yeah.
That's what he'd change.
Correct.
Yeah.
I got that.
Yeah.
But even with that, you would still be the desire for the man to go out there and still be on the bike. I get it, brother. I'm with you, right? But break that down as far as where's the balance there? Because the track is a little safer.
There's no semi trucks to go head on the track.
Correct.
Very true.
One of the things I learned on the bike is how little respect you have on a bike from cars. You've got to constantly be aware of your surroundings. And I got pretty good at predicting when somebody was going to cut me off or something. I don't know. I would just see it and I'd predict that they were going to cut me off, and they would. And you got to be, sometimes riding aggressive. People think that, you're just being an ass riding aggressive.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to maintain a speed next to a car. I'm not going to cruise just next to cars for them to not see me and cut me off and stuff. So anytime there was free road ahead of me, I would rather be, ahead of the cars than ride next to the cars.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I understand that completely, because when I had my Porsche, I was doing the same thing. I didn't give a fuck. And plus I had a badge. So whenever I got pulled over driving over 100 miles an hour, it was automatic jail. For me, it wasn't, bro, because I just like, hey, bro, I'm one of us. And they just like, all right, get going. Just be careful. Well, yep, you know how it is. And then back then, there wasn't cameras or anything, any of that stuff. So, we have it was a different type of life, But I get that part. So tell me more about this car club that you have going. Did you just join it, or did you start it, or how did that work out?
I started it after getting kicked out of another one.
Oh, shit. Okay.
There's another group that is focused on ZL1s. They have the 5th generation and the newer models, 2016 and up models, the 6th gens. And there was a guy that wrecked his car. He got into an accident getting on the highway when he was driving the car when he shouldn't have been driving. It was cold out. The tires that are on the car aren't rated for driving under 40 degrees. And he took his car out, and the guy didn't know how to drive either, because you've never driven in the snow. When you drive in the snow and your ass end starts kicking out, the first thing you do is let off the throttle. Let off the throttle, it straightens back out. So this guy was going up the highway, and a car got squirrely on him. So instead of letting off the throttle, he turned the wheel and then let off the throttle. So when he let off the throttle, it took him where the car was pointed and just shot him off the road. And he had hit a guardrail and stuff and messed the car up, and he was in the hospital. Minor injuries. I think he had broke his collarbone or something, but they were pretty minor injuries. And everybody was, kind of giving the guy a hug, pat on the back, and everybody's jumping on the tires because he's blaming the tires. And I'm like, it's not the tires' fault. You don't know how to drive. You should have lifted off the throttle, not turned the wheel, and you wouldn't be in this situation or whatever. So they kicked me out of the group.
For that? For that?
Yeah, for being he was in the hospital. Everybody else was giving him hugs and stuff. And
fuck that group.
I hadn't been in the group for that long. And I missed I didn't want to lose the support of the community because I was learning a lot about the car. The car was new to me. So it's kind of a funny story how my group got started. I decided to start my own group, but I was going to dedicate it to the 5th gen models because I don't really care for the 6th gen models. And I needed members. So they kicked me out of the group, but they didn't ban me. So what I did was I changed my profile name. I took my middle name and I put it as my first name, and I put another request back into the group, and they let me back in the group. So anytime I seen somebody talking about their 5th gen, I would send them a private message, and I'm like, hey, I got this group over here. We're getting off the ground. I'd like to invite you to it. And I kept doing that and searching Facebook and finding owners. And,
All right.
it took a lot of work to get it to like 400 members or so. But once I got the group off the ground, other people started talking about it and inviting people and joining. And it took like 5-6 years to get it to the point that it is now. It's funny because a lot of people.
Reading my mind. You keep reading my mind, brother. I'm about to ask you a question. You're answering exactly the question I'm about to ask you. So keep going, brother. Look your style, Michael.
A lot of people actually vote my group as a better group than the group that I come from. So they've also got multiple admins on there. They got like 6 people that are in charge of roughly the same size group. I think now it's up to like 4,000 members. But when I got kicked out of it, it was roughly the same size as my group now.
Okay.
And I've built it on my own. There's nobody else that helps me run the group, and there's not a bunch of drama in the group. And a lot of people like the way I run the group because everybody doesn't just talk shit to each other. It's not a bunch of drama. It's a bunch of adults that have something in common, and we support each other. And
how do you avoid the drama?
A lot of new doors for me.
How do you avoid the drama?
Take it somewhere else.
That's simple.
I just tell them, take it to a different group. I'm not here to babysit. I think I've kicked maybe 2 people out of the group that just, didn't want to get along. But otherwise, I'm not there to babysit. It's the internet. Somebody might say something that you might not like, and I'm not going to kick them out of the group just because you don't like what they say.
Got your feelings hurt.
Yeah, the group pretty much maintains a respectful environment, and anybody else that comes into the group, they see the atmosphere and they just join along. And there's not drama in the group, hardly ever. There's been a couple times a couple guys be bickering, and I'll mute them both for 12 hours or 24 hours or something. If you guys can't handle it, like, man, I'll shut you both up. But I'm not there to babysit everybody. I've let everybody know from the start this isn't the group for drama. Yeah, there's lots of other Facebook groups out there that are full of drama. And
what is it that you offer this group? Why is it so stable like this? What is it that you bring to the table that's different than other Camaro groups?
I think a lot of it was me being a mechanic. The technical side of it, I help guys all the time fix their cars. They'll message me with problems. I'll tell them what to look for. Really, I think the technical side of it has helped a lot. And
I would say the technical side is probably what you bring to the table more than anything because you're in there.
Definitely. I mean, I do all my own work to my car and everything, so I've got tons of experience with it, and I can use that experience to help guys. They message me with the problem or something. I know where to go, what to look for, and.
Now, in this group, 2,400 people, how many of those people have cars? Because I'm guessing some of them want the car, just curious about the car, want to be part of it, and just be...
the requirement to get in the group is you have to have the car.
Oh, you have to have the car.
I've got about maybe 10, maybe 15 people in there that don't have the car, that are only there to benefit the people that do have the car, such as we got a few tuners that might not own the car, but they tune the cars. A couple business owners that make parts for our cars. Okay. So if they're in the group, they've got something to offer to the members of the group.
Got it. So there must be a giver or an owner of a car. And how often do you guys get together? Do you guys ever get together once a year, twice a year? How does it work? And where are your members from?
We're worldwide. I have the largest 5th gen Z01 community in the world. There's no other community dedicated to this car larger than mine.
Gotcha.
The other groups, like I said, the other groups got more members, but they've got a range from 2012 till 2023. I've got a range from 2012 to 2015. And
what makes the Gen Z so special, that type of car?
The 5th gen Z01.
5th generation, yeah.
The ZL1 is, you could argue whether the Z28 is a superior car, but it's the top dog of the Camaros. It's supercharged. It's overbuilt. Every part on this car is beefy.
What do you mean?
When guys are taking their...
So what do you mean overbuilt? For those guys that are not car guys like me, break that down. What do you mean overbuilt?
GM makes a good car. if you look at the rear differential on this car, it looks like it come out of a 1-ton pickup truck. I mean, the car is just built very stout. It's overbuilt. It's strong. Every part on this car is basically a stronger version of like what an SS would have. It's got a stronger transmission, stronger axles, bigger differential, bigger brakes. It's supercharged. It's got electric steering on it.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
Many features.
I'm processing all this stuff, bro, and I'm like, man, no wonder people love these cars so much. My dad used to be a mad mechanic, right? My dad used to be a mad mechanic. He used to race cars all the time. He used to tell me about all this stuff, about lowering the tire pressure so the tires grip better when he's racing. He said he used to bet pink slips all the time. He said when it's time for a pink slip, he was like super good at fixing up these cars, right? He used to race them out here in Milpitas, California, which is right next to San Jose. I never got into it because he didn't allow me to get into it because he goes, if you start learning about this stuff, you're going to like it too much. Just stick to the books. You like the money stuff, just stick to that. He had this, I don't know, you probably are going to teach your kids. Let me tell you a story about why my dad didn't teach me about tools. He had all kinds of tools in the garage. And whenever I see him working with the tools and working on something, he said, go do this for me. Go pick up this. Go get lunch for us. Oh, go eat. In other words, he always wanted me away from the tools, right? And I was like, when I was older, I was like, you know what sucks? I don't know how to work any of these damn tools. I don't know anything about this. And you're over here being an expert. Why do you always send me to go do other stuff or to go do this or go do that? He goes, because there was a man in Milpitas. He used to work in a tune-up shop at a gas station as a mechanic. He goes, there was older Mexican man, older. And he goes, this was a mechanic shop and it was all metal. And it was super hot. I remember it was summer, super hot. And this older Mexican man was outside leaning against the wall, kind of like dizzy, just kind of leaning against the wall. And I remember I saw him when I was like 20, 21. And I saw him and I was like, if I stay being a mechanic, that could be my life. And he was like, I don't think I want to do this. As much as he loved tools and all that stuff, he goes, I don't want to do this. And so at that moment, he goes, if I have kids, I'm not going to let my kids learn these tools because they might fall in love and be this guy. And so he said, no, he goes, this isn't for you. You like that number stuff. You like the money stuff. Just keep learning that. And man, that was an engineer, bro. And he didn't allow me to learn these tools. I'm guessing you are going to allow your kids to learn the tools, right?
Oh, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I might not want them to pursue a career being a mechanic because there's a limit on how much money you're going to make unless you own your own shop and whatnot. I'd rather them use their brain, but it's a great skill to have. You know, I maintain all my own vehicles, and if I break down on the side of the road or something, I don't have to call someone else to come. Maybe I got to call a tow truck or something, but it's a good life skill to have.
Yep. Now, for your kids, are they interested in what you're doing, or not really into cars, or what? Maybe one is, one isn't, or are they both into it?
They like the cars.
They do. Okay.
Yeah, we've got 4 kids. We got 3 boys and a girl, and all of them love the cars.
Uh-huh.
Are you going to skip the dirt bikes?
What's that?
Are you going to skip the dirt bikes for them?
You know, honestly, I don't know how I feel about that because maybe if I let them get a dirt bike and ride it around the property, they won't have the itch for a street bike.
Right.
I wanted a street bike. Maybe if I would have had a dirt bike or a moped or something before when I was younger, I wouldn't have the itch for a street bike.
Same
so,
here, yeah.
You know, if I can get them on a dirt bike, whatever. They got little 4-wheelers and stuff. They got little kid ATVs and stuff. So if we can keep them on 4 wheels, I prefer it. And being as before, my dad just didn't want me to have a bike. My kids see a reason now not to have a bike. I broke half my body that I'm going to deal with the rest of my life.
Yep.
That alone should be enough for them to want to stay on 4 wheels.
How old are your kids?
4, 7, and about to turn 10 and 11.
4, 7, 10, 11. All right. Now, with raising kids in the mechanic shop and doing all this stuff with the big club you got, what is the biggest example that you'd like to give your kids? I like talking about kids and the father duties, right? I really like that stuff. Everyone's perspective. So when you have such a vast variety of skills and the way you organize and you're a leader, you understand cars and bikes and all this good stuff. What's the best thing that you're teaching your kids?
one, you don't have to rely on somebody else to accomplish something for you. I love building my car. I'm glad that I don't have to take my car to a shop to pay somebody else to do it. I know that what I do is done right. So my dad always pounded into me, if you're going to do something, do it right, or just don't do it. Be dedicated to something. Not be afraid of failing.
I'll be afraid of anything, brother. Look at you. Look what you've gone through, bro. After the stuff that you've gone through, the accidents, the rehabilitation, the comeback, and you're able to form a group the way you formed it, very few men are able to do that. You have quite a talent in that brain and that soul you got, man. So I would say you have a lot to teach your kids, a lot to give them.
Do any of your kids have that that speed and adrenaline that you and I have?
My oldest, my 10-year-old, not as much as my oldest, but my oldest, yeah, he's following right behind me.
Does he act like you? Does your pop say, "Hey, he acts just like you"?
You know, when I used to work, I would think of how if there was another me, how much we could accomplish. If I had a partner, if I had just a clone, we could just get so much stuff done until I had my son. And I'm like, you know, there's only room for one of us.
Damn.
So yeah, he's a spitting image of me.
So enjoy it while you can, Mike. He's coming.
Yeah,
yeah, he's coming for you for sure. Yeah, because my mom said the same thing. My mom looks at my son, he goes, he acts just like you. Even when he gets an attitude, he looks at you in the face without saying nothing, but he's telling you, "Fuck no," with his eyes. You know, my mom says he's exactly like you. His little attitude, his little walk, the way he decides to do things, he just decides and he does it no matter what. You know, which is a trip about these kids, right? Every single one, they're raised in the same house, same mom, same dad, but they all got their own personalities, right? What do you think is the best thing that you're going to be giving your kids as far as with you, your wife? What's the best thing you're giving them as you're raising them?
Determination. Don't give up.
How are you building that with them? How? Sports, martial arts, chores?
They do sports. I've never really been into sports. I've played sports, you know, when I was younger. My wife, she's more into the sports. She's more into being involved with that. I go to the game stuff and I support them. They see all the struggles that I've been through, and I come up with ways maybe to do things that I was able to do before a different way. And life throws curveballs at you, and you've got to be able to deal with what life throws at you and stay positive about it. And
of course. And when you talk about that stuff, right? When they see what you're going through, what do they ask you? Because they're taking lessons from you as far as all your problems that you had, right? Your accident and all that stuff, your come up. What do they ask you?
There were 2 and 3 when it happened. So they've kind of just grown up with it. They've seen me struggle some. Their memories don't really remember a lot of the earlier struggles earlier in my recovery. You know, like I said, they were 2 and 3, about to turn 3 and 4 just before the accident. Yeah. So they've kind of grown up in it, and it's been natural to them. But they see that I try to make the best of life with what I've got. I don't complain about my situation. I never do. I've never once woken up with the thoughts, you know, I wish I had my foot back, or I wish I had my arm, you know, working fully functional again. It would be nice, but I don't wake up thinking about it and stuff. So they don't see me complaining. I do what I can do. There's some physical limitations that I do have with strength in my arm that, you know, I might need assistance from others with or whatever, but I try to accomplish as much as I can on my own. Have things that make life easier for me. Yep. You know, I've got a forklift, I've got a plow for my truck. So I don't shovel the snow really anymore. I plow the driveway. There's still little areas where I get out the shovel or get out a backpack leaf blower and stuff. So they see me accomplishing tasks throughout with, my body the best that I can do it.
Of course. And your wife, how much does she help you in all this stuff? How supportive was she? I mean, she's still with you, so I mean, she might have been. Obviously, she was a huge support, right? What good stuff do you got to say about your wife?
We were separated at the time of my accident.
Oh, okay.
After the accident, we had got back together, and she's been a huge support. She went with me to New York when I got my osseointegration done, which is a surgery that put a titanium implant in my bone. So I no longer wear a socket. I wear my prosthetic attaches directly to my bone. So she went with me to New York to have that done, and I was wheelchair bound again for 3 months. She took care of the kids, the house, whatever needed to be done. She stepped up, took care of it all. She's been really supportive throughout all of it. She had concerns with the osseointegration. Ultimately, she was worried if there'd be an infection or troubles. And she seen me walk before in a socket and stuff. Mm-hmm. It's hard for someone else that's not experiencing wearing a carbon fiber socket and stuff like that to understand the challenges and the benefits that I've had from the osseointegration. But after having the surgery and seeing where I am now, she knows that I made the right choice. And she often tells the kids, look at what I've been through. I'm not complaining. I get stuff done. The kids, I'm working on them and their work ethic and stuff, making sure they don't grow up being lazy like a lot of modern society. And, you got to get stuff done, whether you want to do it or not. And
correct. That's just life. Just get going.
It's just life. I can't stop. I've got to make the best of it with what I got.
No, I feel you on that because, every single man that's going to be watching this, they can pull a lot from you, brother, because everything that you went through, ups and downs, surviving and then starting to fight back and then now thriving, you have a huge influence over your car club. That's amazing. You going to say something, Pedro?
Yeah, I was just going to say, Mike, if we're not paraplegic or quadriplegic, we're just still going forward. Yep.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I agree. So what's the next step? So what are go ahead.
I see some paraplegics and some quadriplegics that they don't give up. They're doing amazing stuff, and it amazes me watching them. I think I've seen more some paraplegics and stuff accomplish more than fully able bodies.
That's what I meant. Because if they go forward, then we don't have an excuse.
Exactly.
So what's your plans for you now? I know you're always thinking about the next step. Once you had that type of accident, now you're planning. Your mind's always plotting and planning. What's the next steps for you and your car club?
I really would like us to, you had asked earlier if we get together and stuff, and I've met a handful of members. We've actually, like I said, we're worldwide. Most of us are concentrated in the U.S.,
of course,
but all over the country. And we've been to the same events. Maybe a few members are at the same, racing event or something. We haven't hosted our own event yet, which is always in plans. The car, since I've had it, it's spent some time being down for the year. And just as, I might make changes to it or something and plan on having a gathering. The car's either not running and I don't exactly want to host a gathering or host a track event with the car that's not running.
Yeah.
So I'm really hoping next year the car will be back together and be able to get some events. And
right on.
I'd really like to do a shootout against the 6th gen guys.
Hell yeah.
A shootout is racing, obviously, right?
Yep.
Okay. When do you plan on doing that? Next summertime?
Yeah, I would like to.
Put it out there, brother. Let them know next summertime we're going to have some shootouts, some racing. Let them know you're coming for them, right?
Absolutely.
You know,
put it on YouTube so the world can see too.
yeah, invite us out. Invite us out there. We'll do some interviews with people, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely.
That'd be fun. You know, I was never a car guy. I admire the cars, and everyone that knows how to work them is like, man, I wish I had that skill. But I was never a car guy, right? What is so fascinating for like a normal guy like me, right? Like I like the speed. I like, you know, looking cool in cars. I admire it. What is it that people are missing? What do people like me are missing about these cars that makes it so special that you guys just want to work on them, make them faster and all that good stuff? What is the thrill of it?
Horsepower is highly addictive. And I learned from riding my bike, it's only so much fun going straight, but taking it to a track and doing turns, not taking the bike to a track, but taking the car to a track and actually driving it, driving on the track, I thought it was going to be a lot easier than it actually is. It's a lot more technical than you think. I thought I was going to get on the track and go out there and, you know, just kill it. And I was humbled really quick that there was a lot more driving involved than I thought.
Why?
When you're going into turns, you got to have your braking's got to be right. Your suspension's got to be right. Your air pressure's got to be right in your tires. If you're going wide open throttle and you've got a turn to come up to, you got to slam on your brakes and make sure that you get the car slow enough so you make the turn, don't go off the track. There's a lot involved to it. Your driving line has a huge part to do with where your car is placed on the track. You know, you'll see if you ever see, you know, racing and stuff, you'll see a black line from the rubber of where the majority of, you know, the driving is done. And that's your racing line, sticking to that. And, you know, so where the car's positioned when you're coming into turns, you gotta be in the right position on the track. There's a lot more to it. There's a lot more to it than I ever thought. And just steering the car, you know.
Because me looking at it, bro, I'd be like, that looks simple. Like the way I feel, I'm like, bro, I can do this shit with one hand, you know? But then that's my ignorance and my overconfidence or being confident in everything that I do. Then you're talking about it like, I never thought about that. That was just simple. There's no cars in the way, just fucking skedaddles, get through it. But that's me. Like, that's what I'm talking about. I don't know about this.
That's what you would think. That's what you would think. That's what I thought until I got on the track. And I was like, you know, wow, it actually takes a little bit more skill to drive like this than I thought. And I had my dad's got a Z28. So we had went to a track. My car wasn't running at the time, so we took his car to the track. And
all right,
afterwards, he had told me, you know, I've probably driven 1 million miles or so in my life. And I looked at him and I said, no, one of them helped you today, did he? He said, nope.
What was his reaction? Like, I want to get better at this, or this is fucking for you, or what do you say? You want to come back? Want to get some more?
Definitely. He's got to learn. I guess for me being young, I've always driven kind of aggressively since I was, you know, younger, started driving. And then, of course, you know, driving aggressive on the bike and stuff. So I was naturally used to driving aggressive and keeping the RPMs up on the engine so you can get engine brake and not just relying on the brake pedal. You let off the gas. You want the car to slow down. You don't want to have to hit the brake pedal all the time. And my dad's never really drove around aggressive like that. So that was kind of all new to him, you know, putting the throttle to the floor, slamming on the brakes.
And these are all different. And this is all stick shift, right? This is all manual, correct? There's no automatic shit, right?
Nope, not for me.
No gay shit out there, right?
No gay shit.
I like that. No, because I
actually bought the car before I even had my first prosthetic. So my dad had to drive the car for me for a test drive, and I'm going to make it work regardless. So that's why I bought the car. And it wasn't actually as big of a challenge as, you know, I was wondering. I was, you know, kind of considered if there's going to need to be modifications made to the car and such. And I don't have any modifications to the car. Any modification is done to me.
Gotcha.
I've got feet that I specifically use on the track that I don't use in my daily life. So any modification to help me do my job is done through me, not the car.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's killer, bro. You know, a lot of people don't understand it. A lot of men, you know that a lot of men out here in California don't know how to drive stick, bro. Is it gay? But then again, we are California, bro. We're the gay state around. I think we're more gay than San Francisco or fucking Florida. You know, it's pretty fucking strange. But it is what it is. A lot of men don't understand the power of the stick, bro. Like every single car that I bought, like Porsches, I think I've owned, let me see how many Porsches. And then I owned the MR2 Spider. That motherfucker was quick too. Let me see. I've owned one MR2 Spider. That's from Toyota, fast. And then I owned 1, 2, 3 different Porsches. Every single one of them was stick. Every single one. And I was like, why'd you do that? Actually, I'm mistaken. I forgot about one. I bought a long time ago when I was young and dumb. I bought my wife a Porsche also. And that was automatic. And this chick was almost crashing it all the time. I was like, I need to sell this shit, right? And I sold it. But I was like, she was like, why don't you get another automatic? I was like, no. Women don't know how to drive sticks, so women can't drive these cars now. And so that's a big plus as far as for men out there. Get a stick shift for the most part. The women don't know how to drive stick, right? Is that what you're getting? But you're in the Midwest. It's very different, right?
I think it's the times that we're living in that a lot of people just want to buy automatics. And from a performance standpoint, you can't really deny anymore that automatics are faster in a straight line than a manual. You know, you put a 10-speed transmission up against a 6-speed transmission, or they can just shift faster. And I've accepted that in a straight line, new automatics are faster than the manuals, but it doesn't compare to driving the car. You know, when you're in an automatic, you're kind of just steering the car while.
But you're talking about like a different type of sport right there, a different type of activity, right? Straightforward, okay, any door can just soup it up and whatever. But when you talk about what you're doing, the stick shift and the clutch and all that fun stuff, that's a man connecting with the machine, right? So that's a different skill, different talent, a different type of life that a lot of men won't ever understand. Like what you're doing, that speed stuff, I don't know if I'll ever do it, right? That'd be cool if I ever try, if I ever do it, but it's not in my goals. You know what I mean? And you do it as a way of life, and that's badass, bro. I like that. So what you're doing is something that men will probably never ever experience, especially out here in California. Very few men will experience that.
A lot of the racing that goes on at the track, like road course, I don't really drag race this car a lot. It's more road course racing. The majority of those cars, what's that?
What's the difference?
Drag racing is just going straight for either eighth or a quarter mile.
Okay.
Road course is going out there on a 2-3 mile track, taking turns and all the fun stuff.
That sounds like a lot more fun.
Oh, it's a lot more fun to me. Drag racing, you have fun for 10 seconds or so at a time. I'll take this out on the track and I go out on the track for 20 or 30 minutes at a time. So I have a lot more fun. I get a lot more drive time. Last year I had it out on the track was summer of 21. And I went through, I think almost like 3 tanks of gas throughout the day.
Okay.
I was burning a half a tank of gas per session. So it's a lot more wear and tear on the car.
Half a tank of gas per session?
Yeah, I'd burn a half a tank in about 30 minutes.
Damn, bro. It's a lot. Holy shit. That's normal?
The car was making over 700 horsepower then, so it was thirsty. It's going to be way worse now. The car is going to come out now at about 1,000 horsepower at the wheels, and it's also running E85, which takes 30% more fuel. So I'll be filling up the tank every 30-minute session now.
Okay. So what do you mean? You got another new car?
No, I'm just talking the power increase change that have been made to the car. So it's going to be a lot thirstier.
A lot more powerful, a lot more enjoyable.
When's the next race?
I was hoping to have the car together this winter or this year so I could enjoy it this year. In the performance world, you got to learn patience. Some stuff, it seems like every step that I needed to take cost me a couple months, whether it's waiting on parts or waiting on somebody else. So the car will be running over winter. I've actually just got a couple of the parts this week that I've been waiting on to get the motor and everything put back in the car. And come April or May, probably not in April, the car will probably come back out in May. And being as I didn't get much track time, I didn't get to drive the car at all this year. The year before that, I didn't get much track time. The car's overgone some changes over the past couple of years that took a lot of time. Had a motor built for it and stuff. The motor ended up taking 6 months to build, and everybody, every time, the least amount of people you can have involved in the project, the better, because every time you got somebody involved in the project, it's a couple months go by and people are blaming COVID and, material. You can't get material. Everybody's pointing the fingers at everybody else, and you just kind of got to be patient with it. And
yeah, that's true. You said a key thing right there. Whenever there's less decision makers, everything goes way faster, right? And so a lot of I'm learning this stuff, and I'm taking the perspective as one of your members. When you're one of the members, and you're like, okay, I want to get this fast. If the main top guy of the room has been off for almost 2 years, how do I make my car go faster? And sometimes it's uncontrollable, because especially with parts, right? Parts is like, if you got them or not, you got to make them. I don't know how all that works. But what do you tell the members in your group? Like, talk to them. What do you tell the members in your room that want to go faster, need this up and running? Parts, labor, depending on people. What do you tell them as far as when they're in this waiting period like you are?
One thing I recommend is doing your modifications in batches. Do a few modifications this year, enjoy the car, or stack parts, buy parts, accumulate stuff that you need, plan for the future.
Okay.
And don't tear the car apart until you got all your parts.
That makes sense.
Until you've got everything to put it back together, don't tear it apart. That way you can enjoy the car in the meantime. There's no point in tearing the car apart and waiting for this and waiting for that when you could be enjoying the car in the meantime. So winters for building, summers are for driving. So I recommend not making a lot of changes, through the summer. And
what is the number one mistake that you see members of your club doing? You're like, man, so many. Which one is number one? Talk about a few if you want.
Not research of their own. Sometimes guys decide they want to modify their car and they buy parts, but then they don't have a clue how to put the parts on or what to do. And that's what we're there for. We're there to help each other out and stuff, but I don't necessarily enjoy somebody buying car parts and then needing me to hold their hand to put them all on. I'll answer questions or guide you where you need to be guided, but I don't want to hold your hand and tell you everything to do. Like, you might as well be paying me to do it if I've got to hold your hand and guide you every step of the way. And most people aren't like that. Most people are pretty good about doing stuff their own and doing their own research and asking for help when they need it, but they don't expect to be spoon-fed.
Yep.
Yeah, no babysitting. All right.
Nope.
Anything else you want to talk to the people about?
Shout out your Facebook group. Shout out your Instagram, brother. Where can they find you?
Facebook group is 5th Gen ZL1, not for the faint-hearted. And my Instagram is ZL1Dad. I'm not real active on Instagram. The page kind of just got dedicated to the car and whatnot. But pretty much what I'd say to everybody is life throws wrenches at you, and the way you handle the bad situations is going to determine your progress and where you go. I was asked before what was one of the best things or what helped me get to the point to where I am in my recovery, and a lot of it is my attitude throughout the whole thing. And I accept the situation. I woke up to a situation and I've got no choice but to accept it and move on. Complaining doesn't help anything. Being negative doesn't help anything.
Correct.
It's never going to make my foot come back. So, don't take life for granted. I took walking for granted until I couldn't walk. You never know what you got until it's gone. And attitude is a huge part of success in your life.
Awesome, Michael. I know your fans and the fan page you got going on. The Car Club's going to appreciate this interview. Everything you told them, motivating them, letting them know what to do. Everyone goes through ups and downs. And like you said, the simple thing is walking. We take it for granted. And I appreciate everything in life. And thank you so much, Mike, for being an inspiration for a lot of people that are going to be watching this. You're going to be moving a lot of people. Thank you so much for being the great man that you are. I love, obviously, I love great fathers. I really respect. I think we need more of them. You're doing a great job with your kids. Thanks so much, Michael, for joining us. Any last things, Pedro?
No, it's cool to see another fellow daredevil killing it, man. It's cool to see that. It inspired me.
I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for the invite and allowing me to come here and share my story.
Thank you for being with us. We really appreciate you, brother. This Old and New Money podcast. We out.